All right, here we go. We got the whole fam dam here. Starting left to right, Chris Northup as No Name, Rich Ting as Dynamite Davenport, Natalie Byrne as the lovely Pearl, Eli Sereno as John Wilkes Booth, and of course director Errol Sack. You got the 5 main characters here. So here we go. Start with Chris. Chris, overall, what did you think about this process? Now that we're finally done with it, the cast, the sets, everything about it. Give us your thoughts on that.
Overall, what I thought about this process was that, just like Rich, I missed it already. You know what I mean? It's over. That's kind of a bummer. Maybe it's not, but this installment is over. So it was incredible. My first movie was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I was in the back seat of my brother's car. They were on a date. I think I was 7, but it was a drive-in theater. Back in the day, we had drive-in theaters. And I watched this movie as a child, and it scared the living shit out of me. I mean, and the sounds and the soundtrack and everything. So it's like been part of the framework of my life for a long time. And to get a chance to be in this, which is I see this as an homage to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, to that trilogy. It's pretty, like I said earlier, it's like a kid getting to play cowboys and Indians in the yard. You know, it's just, you're free, absolutely free. So it was a pretty amazing experience. Errol brought the biscuit every day. Like, I knew full well that if I came in with anxiety or not knowing something or not off book, that he was going to make it work, because he is an actor's director. He's going to find the solution. Rich, I told you before, just kind of joking about being terrified of him as a Yale actor. He gave me everything he could, you know, everything he had. It wasn't like that. He didn't tell me to stand in certain places and not upstage him, which is what I was afraid of. And for me to be, you know, sort of more of a fucking amateur, you know, and be in the presence of greatness, it was pretty awesome. So the process was fucking a blast. Get to go to work every day when we worked and have a goddamn blast and not be caught up in my head. You know, because I was completely free to fuck things up, to act like an asshole, to be funny, or to be a jackass, which is something I have a skill with. So it couldn't have been any better. I'm going to miss it. I've had a couple of experiences in my life. One was being in a company of a musical, and I cried when it closed because I knew it was never going to get as good. I had the same kind of feeling on this. When it kind of wrapped up, I didn't cry. I might cry. You should cry. But I was like, God, I wonder if it's ever going to be this good. And I think you should go through life that way.
You can't cry on camera. Why start now?
Why, yeah. I may never cry.
How about you, Rich?
I have to piggyback off of what Chris said. You know, learning about this man's past, about his credentials, about his resume. I don't know why he keeps putting me in the limelight, because to me, I'm still a student. And according to what he's experienced and all the stories I've heard from him, I mean, I was the one actually learning. So to be next to him, you know, and to have this chemistry develop as we got to know each other as Chris and Rich off camera, I think it just helped with the organic chemistry of No Name and Davenport on camera. I made a friend for life.
Yes.
He's taught me a bunch of things. He's made me laugh more than anyone else I've co-starred with. But it was just a blast, and I think, you know, the highlight of this show and this project, again, I mentioned it before, but having a limited amount of cast, a limited amount of crew, but the knowledge and just passion that I think everyone brought to this film. I mean, even if it was your first project, the amount of passion that Eli brought to just kind of go all in, you know, to just dive into the fire. And I think was just so, it was very contagious, you know, to say the least. You know, everyone on set was somebody, whether it was Jim Palmer or Berkey or Errol or Sean. You know what I mean? Everyone brought something and years of experience. I mean, American Costumes dressed us. I mean,
that was incredible.
Going to the fittings there, it's like John Wayne was there. Like, you know what I mean? Like the OGs were there. And
Steve
McQueen, you know, and to have them come out and support us on set, you know, in this massive heat that we filmed in, and, you know, to film at Sable Ranch and to have the support of them as well. I mean, every location, every cast member, every crew member was here because they wanted to be here, and that's a rarity in Hollywood. I don't know what Errol was saying in his interview, is just that, you know, sometimes bigger isn't better, you know, and we kept it lean, and I think it just shows in the overall picture, you know, the kind of kind of love and passion we all share towards this craft. And again, like what Natalie said earlier about how often does a Ukrainian and a fourth generation Asian American get to do a spaghetti Western? You know,
Yeah.
I think that's, I mean, I hope to do more, but I never hope to do one of these to begin with. You know what I mean? So I don't think that was ever in like, you know, I have my directors, I have my genres, I have my actors that I would love to work with, kind of like my wish list. Being in a spaghetti Western wasn't in the wish list just because I think I've grown up as a fourth generation Asian American in the US, in California, with this wall that Westerns were only this. Yet, a lot of other people existed in that time in that world. So, again, not to go on too long, but just to be a part of this world and to be a part, more importantly, this cast and crew was very special.
Natalie.
I forgot the question. You took me.
Oh, just the overall process with the group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, it was. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have worked with amazing actors. Rich is wonderful. He should be doing way more Westerns. Why not? I think we as actors should not be placed in a box to what Hollywood is viewing us as. And I think they should just give us more opportunity to, to be able to do whatever it is that we desire to do. Because as long as we have passion, I think we can fool anybody that we are that part. As long as you're creating a solid character and you know your goals and you know what you want, I think the audience will understand what we're trying to deliver. And I think in this movie, Rich has done an amazing job. Chris did a phenomenal job. I mean, I don't know why he's not a star. No, but I'm grateful to have worked with him, and he taught me a lot as well under the blanket. I was shocked. I was like, oh wow, so much information. I was given a lot. But I took it all in, everything, every bit of that information. I took it all in under the blanket, and I said, I'm gonna roll with it. So I came out of that blanket, and I knew so much more about life.
I'm jealous.
What?
I was next to the blanket.
You were next to it. You did not. Yeah, you didn't get the true Chris. You always got the surface, but there's so much more underneath.
There's no acting under the blanket. No acting under the blanket.
Only the truth, only the reality. I mean, I felt it all. Trust me, I felt everything. So if you get a chance to act with him under the blanket, go for it, because the information that he will give you, it's huge. It's really
the emotion.
The emotion. I mean, I came out of it. I was like, oh, yeah, no, it was great. And we all got to ride horses, and we got to know each other in real life, and it was just such a blessing because, the horses were wonderful. But in general, like just having to surround yourself with people that care to make a wonderful Western, it's refreshing. And I think everybody loves Westerns, but everybody's afraid to make one. So the fact that Errol said, you know what, hell with it, I'm just gonna do it. It's, I'm applauding him for doing that, because it's rare, but it's needed. The world still wants to see Westerns, and he's gonna do well with it, and people will, I'm sure, will be very pleased with the film itself. So I'm really grateful to be a part of it, and to have worked with such an amazing cast and the director.
If I can add, not only just do a Western, but bring shocking sound, amazing music. The costumes were impeccable. The things that you don't usually watch people make a Western out of scratch and have it succeed in any way because of those things that don't work. But the soundtrack is stunning. The costumes were unbelievable. Every wardrobe stylist I know, I have sent pictures of this stuff. They're like, they see my Instagram and they're like, what in the hell have you gotten yourself into? Who is that? I'm like, it's American costume. And they're like, holy crap, absolutely blown away. The costumes were impeccable. I mean, you just don't see that. I mean, I work constantly, in other, mostly commercial areas, but you don't see this level of performance very often. I mean, at the top. And for us to be exposed to that, for us to have the advantage of all of the things you brought to this is really remarkable. I mean, we're not going to get a chance to play this well.
It looks huge.
One of the main things on this is so we got the costume, we got the location. we've got to have the lenses, we got to have the camera, we got to have everything, because everything is tip top, we got to go full bore. We used anamorphic lenses that were made in the 60s. This is also in the 60s when they came out with zoom lenses. So whenever they zoomed in, it always looked odd to what we see now. It's like they overused it in the 60s, the zoom lens. Constantly, they were like, oh, get right into their face immediately. And because they were having fun with it, like, we don't even know how to use it, but we're using it. Oh, it's your turn. We had everything to make this the best we could. The actors, it was almost like we asked, they're gonna come.
How can they fuck it up?
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody else I can see as No Name, there's nobody else I can see Dynamite, no other person I see is Pearl or John Wilkes Booth. You guys are these characters. Hands down, I can't see anyone else play those roles. You guys brought in this, your personality. Clearly, you guys talked about to yourselves, like, where am I coming from to go into this scene? What's my personality like? How do I feel? You brought all these elements because we can see them. No Name and Dynamite Davenport is a movie that dialogue is not what's telling the story. It's almost their expressions through the whole movie. They're expressing their feelings. And now, how do you get actors like that could actually express what they're thinking? These guys pulled it off. I mean, hands down. When you see them express, you take that feeling and go, I know what she's feeling, I know what he's feeling, because of their expressions. That means they're in it. They're in 1865. And they're No Name, they're Dynamite, they're Pearl, and they're this jackass, John Wilkes Booth. Question.
What do I ask now?
I have a quick story to say.
Go for it.
I would actually help.
Yeah, freestyle it. Go, you guys go ahead.
This thing, just because you were talking about the locations, the access we had to these locations,
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it. I was in here shooting on a TV show called Miracle Worker one week. And it was funny because we had to dance around this fucking set that had been already dressed and set and built. And they were like, don't fuck with that, that's a movie, that's a secret project. Nobody can know anything about it, so don't fuck with this. And I was like, that's my fucking movie. I was like, those are my, I'm gonna be here tomorrow, dressed like a cowboy, you fuckers. It was awesome. But I mean, the access we have had to the most amazing locations.
Well, we had some interesting times filming. We were doing the Union Camp, where another show I won't say, I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but it was a big TV show that's gone on for years. They wanted us out. And for some reason, the fire department, none of them came over to kick us out. We got to finish filming next to this big Hollywood production with the permits and all the stuff. And we're like, and as we drove out, we just waved. That's how we make a movie, right down there. Funny enough, in that particular scene, it rained, it snowed, it was sunny, it snowed again. I mean, totally outrageous.
Yeah, it's
And
remember.
it was absolutely wild, the things that we had to go against. Like, you know what, it's all right. Clouds are dark. We could put in whatever we want.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak. I'm really grateful for working with so many professionals.
So anyway,
that's all I really have to say, because when I listen to you speak, I'm such a newbie that all I hear is all these new perspectives of how incredible these opportunities were, and it makes me more grateful. So I'm grateful to hear what you have to say. I think that the best way to describe this movie for me was just kind of divine. With the snowing, that was just weird. But, you know, my father, Chuck Serino, watched spaghetti westerns throughout his whole life, and then he gets me on this movie as a character, and then he scores it. Like, how incredible is that? You're playing the music while he's acting as an extra in the camp, and he's acting to his own music. That's amazing. That's just amazing. And I don't know what else to say. It's just gratitude, really, what I have, because I don't have really anything else to offer.
No, you are not a newbie anymore, okay? You're not a newbie. You fucking brought it. You did a great fucking job, man.
Oh,
you.
John,
Yeah.
Thanks. Stop. Thank you.
Man, there's not much more to say unless you guys want to mingle.
Is there any questions you guys want to ask each other? Go for it.
You go for it. I know you want to ask me. Come on,
How long did
just
you
say.
train to ride horses before this? Because I know you actually.
I rode horses when I was little, but I rode English and Western. It's kind of odd to go from English to Western. And you can see, because it wasn't great, but yeah, I rode horses growing up. And then I've tried to keep up with it over the years. You know, I always ride whenever I can. I live in Palos Verdes, and there are horses down there. I do not own them, or even know people that own them. But I go and pay like everybody else and go ride horses. But yeah, I was pretty terrified. So when this came down, I went straight to the stables. And I was like, I need to ride.
Yeah.
And I got on a horse, and I rode every week if I could.
Now, Rich? Rich?
I mean, I have experience as a kid riding a horse, but I think I respect the horses too much. Meaning that
You don't want to get on their asses?
actually, I take that back. I did a period piece in Southeast Asia where they imported these horses from China, and that was not a good experience.
They're like ass biter horses, though, right?
They were violent. So I'm coming from that kind of PTSD background. But to be honest, it's I just respect them too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
I
know.
think they can feel that though.
Yeah.
They definitely can sense that you guys are like battling who's the boss.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
So what's your horse background? Are you?
I just trained, like I rode
So
horses
what's
when
your
I was
horse
younger.
Yeah.
I rode horses when I was younger.
My horse.
But although, like, you know, you still have to be riding a horse that's trained. And I remember because you couldn't handle your horse, they gave me your horse to
Yeah,
handle,
that's
which
true.
I was like, all right, fine. And supposedly that horse is like known for falling down.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, like I think Leonardo
Yours
DiCaprio
was
drove it.
yours the horse, the stunt horse,
Django.
the
Yeah.
tripwire horse.
Exactly.
Sean has a question for you guys.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so we were like, yeah, so I mean, I rode horses, but at one time I remember we had that scene where my horse just went wild and I actually had to get off the horse and it just
Yeah.
ran back to the camp,
That's true.
which was crazy.
That was
I remember
really-
I was like, oh, should I have stayed on it or not? But I just decided, I was like, you know, I'm just gonna jump off just in case.
That
And
was
the
pretty
horse was
slick
like,
how you got off that horse.
thank you,
quickly.
I know, because I fell off a horse once really bad
That
on
was
my
pretty
back, so, yeah. So, you don't wanna mess with horses.
so where does this stack up to this spaghetti western stack up to the other spaghetti westerns you guys have seen? I mean, is this? I think Errol fed me one question off camera where that's what he wanted to know. He wanted to know where this one stacks up with the others you've seen in the past.
For me, I've seen a lot of crap westerns. I've seen a lot of westerns that went the distance also, that I still think are crap. And I mean, I don't want to reference them specifically, but there are movies out there that people are paying money to see right now that they've been watching for years that just don't stack up to this one. And I haven't seen anywhere near the final edit. And I'm not, just, you know, I'm impartial maybe, but no, I mean, this one's got teeth, man. So I'm super impressed. I mean, I like the fact that it's homage. It's not a copy. It's not somebody went out to make The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Part 2. It's got, you know, oh my God, we have little people. We have a dude in a dress. I mean, you know, it's not that. There's wildlife, you know, a lot more than there was there. We don't have a guy missing all his, you know, like they made, you know, he would make those crazy movies he would hire Italian actors that were handicapped, you know, by the dozens. You know, it's different. We did a different thing. We did our own thing. You did your thing. So I think it's going to stand on its own.
To me, it just seems like it's just crazy unique. You know, there's nothing else like it anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, just for all the reasons you guys have mentioned. You know, so yeah, that's. What about you, Rich? I mean, the stuff you've seen, and I mean, where do you stack this one up against stuff you've seen?
Well, just doing my research and prep, you know, prior to coming onto this show, I had to really familiarize myself with the specific genre of spaghetti westerns, right? As opposed to other westerns, and especially modern remakes like Tombstone and, you know, all these cool ones that aren't traditional to the original genre itself, right? So I think if you're a viewer without that knowledge, see, once again, all of us in this room come from that background. You know what I mean? Obviously, Errol comes from that background, his family does. Berkey's family comes from that background. And so if you're familiar with the genre, you can be very objective in looking at how we did this and the originality and how amazing it is compared to others. But if you don't, and you're kind of new to the genre like I was, I think you really need to educate yourself with former spaghetti westerns before watching this one, because then you're going to see what we did is we kept it so original. At the same time, we paid our respects to the original spaghetti westerns in themselves. You know, like the opening scene, I think is phenomenal. The fact that even Chuck was talking about how there's no dialogue, you know, and that was one of the key elements. You know, there would be these pauses and, like, I'm talking 5 to 10 minute scenes where there's zero dialogue, and it's just a guy riding his horse down the mountain, and then a guy looking at the guy riding his horse down the mountain, and then back on the guy looking, and then back on the guy, to a point where, like, you were living it in real life. There was no cut. It wasn't like he was at the top and then all of a sudden, boom, he arrives. It was like you as a viewer had to stay locked onto the screen and watch this guy ride down this mountain, and then the minute he would settle, he would get shot, and then it would go to black, and that was a scene. So, you know, if you're a youngster today, a millennial growing up, you've probably never been exposed to that genre or that style. So maybe our film is going to be a little different for you to maybe comprehend. But if you educate yourself and you're familiar with the traditional spaghettis, you're going to see that, number one, how impressive it is to shoot this type of movie in 2020, 2021, and make it look like it was done in the 60s to portray 1860s. You know, and the truth, the accuracy. I mean, the opening scene sets it. I mean, I'm not even in the opening scene, and I love it. It's probably my favorite scene of the whole movie, because it's so real and it's so accurate. Yet we did it last year, you know.
That's crazy.
And so, and I think that speaks for everyone. Part of it, you know. Errol lives and breathes this stuff. Obviously, it's evident on camera, you know, and in the post room, but. It was just so original. I don't feel like we copied or we tried to, like you said, make part 2 of whatever. This is part 1 of No Name and Dynamite Davenport, and there will be a second, and we'll see about 3 and 4. But you know what I mean? It's like we're creating our own brand now to compete against those. So I think it's very unique.
Errol, wrap it up for us, man. Your final thoughts on everything. I mean, you got a great cast.
Well,
you got Eli, who's probably the only Italian in a spaghetti western. That's nice. And Chuck, but that's kind of a funny little tidbit. But wrap it up, man.
To wrap this up, what's the most impressive thing of this film is that all the elements that actually came together. Who finds or gets to meet the perfect composer to do your film, other than someone that loves Ennio Morricone? And do a spaghetti western? How many composers are going to say, "Oh yeah, I like him," but how many really like him?
Yeah.
Chuck really likes him. And what's important as a spaghetti western is use instruments that you don't hear anymore in movies at all. Yeah, and it's so nowadays we hear these songs. We always hear the normal stuff. Most of it's electric stuff. In this, Chuck brought all these elements for the composing, as well as different instruments, different sounds, to make something sound incredible. The passion he has to do it, that adds into what we all have. Number 2, the cast that came on board, there is no way I could see anyone else being who they are. These are just no name. It's Dynamite, it's Pearl, John Wilkes Booth, it's Hoodoo Brown. All these characters are characters. They're not just throwing in stereotype. Everyone's different in this film. They all have their own personality. And one of the biggest things that made it easy for this film was every actor in this film made my life easy, because directing them was easy. Just let them do it. Just let them go. Let them see what they bring. It may impress you. And every one of them impressed me. I mean, the way they brought it, their smirks, and we captured all those little things on their face, so their body language matched their dialogue. They weren't reading from a script. They were reading from the conversation they were in at the time. For this thing to come together like it is, our sound department is phenomenal. Patrick Rardy of Virtual Mix, I believe it's called.
He's Italian.
He's
French.
He's from France, and he works in a studio that tons of old famous movies. The Duel, Spielberg was mixed there. Emergency, Twilight Zone, all these old shows were mixed in this place. And to actually even be able to go in the production house of it, of our post-production, and be into this environment where you have all this energy from Spielberg and, you know, all these big names and the people, it's like, hey, we're mixing our movie in the same movie they did in the 70s. That's pretty neat. I am especially grateful of all the connections that came together. Clint Lilly brought so much as a producer, and horses that knew how to handle camera work. Wardrobe, absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal stuff. How professional it was. We all go in and get fitted, tailored. If the sleeve wasn't long enough, we'll fix it. You know, phenomenal stuff. I mean, I literally felt that we were working on a multi-million-dollar movie. The actors all brought it, the camera brought it, the wardrobe brought it, the location brought it.
Where's Chris Props too, man?
Yeah,
You still here?
Chris Props.
Yep.
The props were all made to that time of 1865, handcrafted, you know, built, rope beds, skeletons made in to look like mummified people. I mean, there was so many elements in this thing. We all put in so much work on it. The miniature building. We don't really like CGI, so we want to use a miniature to blow up because our budget can't build a big church or a cabin and blow it up. But maybe next time.
The guns were all real.
The guns
were all straight up.
What was great about
Period.
being an 1865 film is that they're all black powder guns, and smoke just flies, which is so cool. So they're like adult cap guns. Boom, big puff of smoke, no CGI. Blood hits. We did a lot of blood coming out, squibs, Zerk balls on the wall. We did a lot of action, fun stuff. We also used a Chapman crane to come in every day a shoot, which made it flow nice and all that. We used a Panavision Sony Venice 5K, or no, actually 6K, and we're using the anamorphic lenses that were made in the 1960s. Overall, this is definitely a movie to watch.
Let's cut to the chase, shall we? Why are two gentlemen like you in my establishment?
They were two down and dirty bounty hunters looking to take down the bad guys.
They want to kill me! Help me!
Until the bad guys found them.
Who's chasing?
Yes, them, but who the hell's them?
If you shoot to kill. Action. Suspense. And romance.
I'm doing a little undercover bounty work, Dynamite.
Chris Northup. Rich Ting. And Natalie Byrne in No Name and Dynamite Davenport.